Admiral Kethver stood in the center of the massive command room, his blue skin pale with worry. The holographic display in front of him showed images that made his blood run cold. Planet Terra 3 floated in the projection, looking peaceful from space, but the data streaming across the screens told a different story. "Show me the surface scans again," he ordered, his voice tight with tension. Chief Analyst Euron, a thin creature with long tentacles for arms, touched the control panel with shaking appendages. "Sir, I must warn you again. These readings are unlike anything we have ever seen." The hologram changed, showing the planet's surface. Kethver watched in horror as the images revealed a world that seemed designed to kill everything that lived on it. Massive storms swirled across entire continents, with winds strong enough to tear apart their strongest military ships. Lightning struck the ground thousands of times per minute, each bolt carrying enough energy to power a small city. "The oxygen levels alone should be fatal," whispered Dr. Zeph, the Council's chief medical officer. Her 6 eyes blinked rapidly as she studied the data. 21% oxygen in the atmosphere. That concentration would burn the lungs of most species in the galaxy. Commander Thix, a stocky alien with 4 bright yellow eyes, leaned forward in his chair. "Burned their lungs. It would kill them in minutes. How can anything survive breathing poison like that?" The images continued to change, showing different parts of the planet. In one region, the ground was covered in ice so thick it could crush their largest ships. The temperature readings showed numbers that made several council members gasp. In another area, the surface was a burning desert where the heat was hot enough to melt metal. "Look at this," Yorn said, his voice barely above a whisper. He pointed to a new set of images. "These are the life forms we detected." The hologram showed creatures that looked like nightmares. Massive beasts with claws as long as a person's arm stalked through forests. In the oceans, things with hundreds of teeth swam through waters that were somehow both boiling hot and freezing cold at the same time. Flying creatures with wingspans longer than their scout ships soared through the poisonous atmosphere. "The gravitational readings are impossible," added Lieutenant Vex, studying his instruments. "The planet pulls everything toward it with a force that crushed 15 of our best probes. Our strongest materials were flattened like paper." Admiral Kethver felt his heart beating faster. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "And you are absolutely certain there is intelligent life on this death world?" "Yes, sir," Yorn replied, changing the display once more. "We detected radio signals, satellite networks, and what appears to be massive cities. The technology signatures suggest they have achieved spaceflight, though we have not seen any ships leave their atmosphere. Probably because they are too busy trying not to die," muttered Commander IX. Dr. Zeph studied her medical scanner readings. The electromagnetic storms alone would fry the nervous systems of any known species. And yet somehow, intelligent life not only survives down there but seems to be thriving. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If a species could survive and build a civilization on a planet that could kill everything else in the galaxy, what would they be capable of when they finally left their world? "Show me the population estimates," Kethver ordered. Yorn's tentacles moved across the controls. "Based on city sizes and energy consumption, we estimate approximately 8 billion individuals." Several council members made sounds of alarm. 8 billion creatures that had evolved on a world that could kill anything else in the galaxy. "Sir," said Captain Noz, the council's military strategist, "if even 1% of their population is capable of combat, they could field an army of 80 million soldiers. Soldiers who have spent their entire lives surviving conditions that would kill our best troops in seconds." The holographic display zoomed in on one of the planet's cities. The structures were massive, built to withstand the constant storms and earthquakes that shook the planet. Roads ran in perfect lines between buildings that reached toward the poisonous sky. "They build their cities in the open," observed Dr. Z. "Most species would hide underground to escape such conditions, but these creatures live right in the middle of the chaos, because they are not afraid of it." Kethver realized with growing horror. "They have adapted to live in conditions that would kill us. They probably think a normal, safe planet is boring." The room erupted in panicked voices as the delegates from 12 different species began talking at once. Some called for immediate military action. Others suggested they should flee to the far edges of the galaxy. A few wondered if they should simply surrender now and hope for mercy. Kethver raised his hand for silence. "We have no choice," he announced. "We must assume that any species capable of surviving on that planet is the greatest threat the galaxy has ever faced. We mobilize every ship, every ally, every weapon we possess. All of them, sir, asked Commander Thix. All of them, Cathver confirmed. If these Deathworld creatures ever decide to leave their planet, they could conquer the entire galaxy. We cannot allow that to happen. Emergency alarms began blaring throughout the station as the greatest military force in galactic history prepared for war. Lieutenant Kim Day rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screens again. The numbers had not changed in the last hour. 312 alien ships were heading straight toward Earth, and they would arrive in less than 2 days. The communications room deep under Seoul was buzzing with activity as dozens of technicians worked at their stations. "Sir, we are getting another message from the alien fleet," called out technician Park Min from his desk. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard as he translated the alien language. "They are saying the same thing again. They want us to surrender right now, or they will destroy our planet." Kim Day walked over to Park Min's station and read the message on the screen. The aliens seemed very scared and very angry at the same time. Their words talked about Earth being a death world and humans being dangerous predators who could destroy the galaxy. "Do they really think we are monsters?" Kim Day asked, scratching his head. "We have never even left our solar system to visit other planets with people on them. I think they are afraid of our weather," Parkman replied, pointing to another screen. "Look at this data they sent us. They think our oxygen levels are poisonous. They think our storms are too dangerous. They even think our gravity is too strong." Kim Day laughed. "Our gravity is too strong. I went hiking in the mountains last weekend and felt fine." The door to the communications room opened, and Director Lee Won walked in. He was a calm man in his 50s who always seemed to know what to do, even in the strangest situations. Today he was carrying a thin folder in his hands and had a small smile on his face. "Director, what are we going to do about the alien fleet?" Kim Day asked. "Should we prepare our military? Should we try to hide?" Lee Won set the folder down on the nearest desk. "The Earth Council met for 6 hours today. We talked about many options. We could try to fight them, but they have more ships than we do. We could try to hide, but they already know where we are. So what did you decide?" Parkman asked, looking worried. "We decided to send someone to talk to them," Lee Won replied, still smiling. Kim Day felt relieved. "Good idea. How many diplomats are we sending? How many ships? Do we have enough translators?" Lee Won picked up the folder and handed it to Kim Day. "Open it and see." Kim Day opened the folder and stared at the single piece of paper inside. It was a personnel file with a photo of a young woman. Her name was Han Sol, and she worked for the Earth Exploration Corps. According to the file, she was 28 years old and had spent the last 5 years exploring dangerous places on Earth. "Sir, I think there is a mistake," Kim Day said slowly. "This is just one person. Where are the files for the rest of the diplomatic team?" "There is no mistake," Lee Won replied. "We are sending Han Sol alone." Park Min nearly fell out of his chair. "Alone, just one person, to meet with 300 alien warships?" "She volunteered when she heard about the situation," Lee Won explained. "She said it sounded interesting and exciting. She has always wanted to meet aliens, and now she has her chance." Kim Day looked at the photo again. Han Sol looked like a normal person. She had short black hair and was smiling at the camera. She did not look like someone who could face an entire alien fleet by herself. "Director, with respect, are you sure this is a good idea?" Kim Day asked. "What if they think we are making fun of them? What if they get angry and attack us?" "Han Sol has experience dealing with dangerous situations," Lee Won said. "Last year, she spent 3 months in Antarctica during the worst winter storm in 50 years. The year before that, she explored underwater caves in the Pacific Ocean. She has climbed the highest mountains and walked through the hottest deserts. But those are just Earth dangers," Park Min pointed out. "These are aliens with weapons that could destroy cities." Lee Won nodded. "True, but Han Sol has something that might be more powerful than weapons." "What is that?" Kim Day asked. "Curiosity," Lee Won replied. "She wants to learn about them. She wants to understand why they are so afraid of us. And maybe, if she can talk to them, she can help them understand that we are not the monsters they think we are." 2 hours later, Kim Day watched the launch screens as a small, unarmed shuttle left Earth's atmosphere. Inside the shuttle was Han Sol, along with some food, a few books, and a camera to take pictures of the aliens if they let her. Across the galaxy, alien monitoring stations detected the launch. In the command centers of 300 warships, alien officers stared at their screens in confusion and growing fear. "One ship," Admiral Kethver said, his voice shaking. "They are sending one tiny ship to face our entire fleet. It has no weapons," reported his tactical officer. "No shields, No armor, it is not even very fast. Then it must be a trap, the Admiral decided. No species would send one defenseless ship unless it contained the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. The alien fleet prepared for what they believed would be their greatest battle, while a single human woman flew toward them with nothing but curiosity and hope. The airlock of the alien flagship opened with a soft hiss, and Han Solo stepped through, carrying her small backpack and wearing a simple Earth uniform. She looked around the massive cargo bay with wide eyes, taking in the strange architecture and the dozens of alien beings pointing weapons at her. "Wow, this is amazing," she said, her voice full of wonder. "I have never seen anything like this before. Thank you so much for letting me visit your ship." Admiral Kethfer stood 20 feet away, his energy weapon charged and ready. Behind him, soldiers from 6 different alien species kept their guns pointed at the human. The Admiral had expected to see a terrifying monster step off that shuttle. Instead, he saw a young woman who looked like she was going on a camping trip. "Do not move any closer," Kethfer commanded, his voice shaking slightly. "We know what creatures from your death world are capable of. What biological weapons are you carrying? What poison gas? What deadly virus?" Han Solo tilted her head, looking genuinely confused. "Biological weapons? I do not have any weapons at all." She held up her backpack and opened it. "I just brought some food and water for the trip. Oh, and my camera to take pictures if that is okay." She reached into the bag and pulled out a small package. Several aliens jumped backward and raised their weapons higher. "These are crackers," Han Solo said cheerfully, holding up the package. "They are made from wheat and salt. Very simple food. Would anyone like to try some? I also have some dried fruit if you prefer something sweet." Dr. Zeph, the fleet's medical officer, held up her scanner and pointed it at Han Solo. The device immediately began making loud warning sounds. "Admiral, you need to see these readings," she said, her voice filled with alarm. "What is it?" Kethfer asked, never taking his eyes off the human. "Her bone structure is impossible," Dr. Zeph replied, studying the scanner display. "The density is 3 times higher than any known species. Her muscles are packed with fibers we have never seen before, and her internal organs, they are designed to process toxins that would kill us instantly." Han Solo overheard the conversation and laughed. "Oh, you mean because I am from Earth? Yes, I suppose we are built a bit differently. We have to be strong to deal with our gravity, and our bodies need to handle the oxygen levels and radiation." "Radiation?" Commander Thix whispered, his 4 eyes wide with fear. "Sure, we get radiation from our sun every day," Han Solo explained casually. "Most people do not think about it much. I actually spent last month working in the Sahara Desert. It was pretty hot, but the sunsets were beautiful. I have some pictures if you want to see them." Dr. Zeph's scanner began beeping even faster. "Admiral, she is adapting to our atmosphere in real time. Her blood chemistry is changing as we watch. Her lungs are processing our air mixture and making it work for her body." "Adapting?" Han Solo looked around at the aliens with interest. "Is your air different from ours?" "I had not noticed. It feels fine to me. Actually, it is more comfortable than some places I have been. Last year, I spent 2 weeks in a research station in Antarctica. Now that was cold. The temperature was minus 40 degrees, and the wind was so strong it could knock you over." A collective gasp went through the assembled aliens. Minus 40 degrees was cold enough to freeze most of their blood solid. You survived in minus 40 degrees, stammered Lieutenant Vex. "Oh yes, it was not too bad once you get the right clothes," Han Solo replied. "The hard part was when the storm knocked out our power generator. We had to fix it in the middle of a blizzard. But it was kind of fun, like a puzzle to solve." The aliens looked at each other in growing horror. What this human called kind of fun would have killed entire armies of their strongest soldiers. "The scanner is also detecting something else," Dr. Zeph said quietly. "Her body has been exposed to dozens of different toxins and survived poisonous plants, venomous animal bites, bacterial infections that should have been fatal. Her immune system has records of fighting off diseases we do not even have names for." Han Solo nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, I have traveled to many places on Earth for my job. Sometimes you get sick, but you get better. I remember when I got food poisoning in the Amazon rainforest. That was unpleasant for a few days, but the local medicine helped." "The Amazon rainforest?" asked Captain Norse weakly. "It is a place on Earth with lots of trees and animals," Han Solo explained. "Very humid, lots of insects, some dangerous snakes and spiders, but also incredibly beautiful. The sounds at night are amazing. I recorded some of them, if you would like to hear. Admiral Cuthbert felt his hands trembling as he held his weapon. This was not going the way he had planned. He had expected to face a terrible monster, but instead he was talking to someone who described surviving in conditions that would kill his entire crew, and she spoke about it like discussing the weather. What is your home planet really like? He asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Han Solo's face lit up with a bright smile. Oh, Earth is wonderful. Would you like me to tell you about it? For the next 3 hours, Han Solo sat in the flagship's conference room, surrounded by the most powerful military leaders in the galaxy. What started as an interrogation had turned into something much more frightening for the aliens. The human woman spoke about her life on Earth as if she were describing a pleasant vacation, but every word made the alien commanders more terrified. So you climb mountains for entertainment? Admiral Cuthbert asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Oh yes, mountain climbing is very popular on Earth, Han Solo replied, pulling out her phone to show pictures. This is me on Mount Everest last year. It is our planet's highest mountain. The air is very thin up there, so you need special equipment to breathe. Dr. Zeph looked at the scanner readings and nearly dropped the device. The atmospheric pressure at that altitude would crush the lungs of most species. And the cold, it was pretty cold, Han Solo agreed cheerfully. About -30 degrees. But the view from the top was incredible. It took me 2 weeks to climb up and back down. I met some really nice people from different countries. We helped each other when the weather got bad. Commander Thix leaned forward, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. You said the weather got bad. What does that mean? A storm came in while we were near the summit, Han Solo explained. Winds of about 150 kilometers per hour, with snow so thick you could not see your own hands. We had to wait in our tents for 3 days until it passed. The alien military officers exchanged looks of pure horror. Wind speeds of 150 kilometers per hour would destroy their aircraft. These humans sat in tents and waited for it to pass like it was nothing. But mountain climbing is not the only thing people do for fun, Han Solo continued. Many people enjoy deep-sea diving. My friend Jin Ho holds the record for diving without equipment. He can hold his breath for 12 minutes and dive down to 100 meters, 200 meters underwater, gasped Captain Norse. The pressure at that depth would kill most of us instantly. Really? Han Solo looked surprised. Jin Ho says it is not too difficult once you practice. He started when he was a child. His family lives near the ocean, and they dive for food. Lieutenant Vex was studying the technical readouts. Our submarines cannot even go that deep without special protection. The water pressure would crush the hull. Oh, speaking of water, Han Solo said, remembering something else. People also like to go surfing in big waves. Last month there was a storm near Hawaii that created waves 15 meters high. Hundreds of people went out to ride them. 15-meter waves, Dr. Z whispered. Those could sink our largest ships. They are pretty dangerous, Han Solo admitted. A few people got hurt, but that is normal. People know the risks when they go out in big storms. Admiral Cuthbert felt his head spinning. You said people do this during storms. Storm surfing is very exciting, Han Solo replied. The bigger the storm, the bigger the waves. Some people travel around the world looking for the most dangerous storms to surf in. The aliens sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Commander Thix found his voice. Earlier you mentioned something about radiation. You said people expose themselves to it on purpose. Sunbathing. Yes, everyone does that, Han Solo said, scrolling through her phone. Here are pictures. From the beach last summer. See all these people lying in the sun. They are absorbing radiation from our star to get a tan. The photos showed thousands of humans spread across sandy beaches, lying directly under the burning radiation of their sun. Children were playing in the sand. People were swimming in the water. Everyone looked happy and relaxed. That level of radiation would kill us in minutes, Dr. Zeph said quietly. You do have to be careful, Han Solo acknowledged. If you stay out too long without protection, you can get burned, and too much sun over many years can cause health problems. But most people just enjoy it in small amounts. What about the natural disasters on your planet? Asked the chief medical officer. Surely those kill many of your people. Han Solo thought for a moment. We do get earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, floods, and forest fires. But we have learned to build stronger buildings and create warning systems. Last year was actually pretty quiet. Hurricane season only flooded a few cities, and the earthquake in Japan was not too bad. Only flooded a few cities. Captain Norse repeated weakly. The water went away after a few weeks, Han Solo said. People cleaned up and rebuilt. That is what we do after disasters. My grandmother lived through 5 major earthquakes, 3 hurricanes, and 2 volcanic eruptions. She always said it kept life interesting. Admiral Kethver finally understood the terrible truth. Earth had not created monsters, it had created something far more dangerous. It had created a species that saw the most deadly conditions in the galaxy as opportunities for fun and adventure. A species that treated disasters like minor inconveniences and rebuilt stronger every time. How many humans live on your planet? He asked, though he was afraid of the answer. About 8 billion, Honsol replied happily. And most of us love to travel and explore new places. The alien commanders sat in horrified silence, finally understanding why the galaxy should be afraid. The Great Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their seats, staring at Admiral Kethver as he finished his report about the human visitor. The silence stretched on for several minutes before anyone found the courage to speak. "Let me understand this correctly," said Councillor Veth, her voice barely above a whisper. "The human asked you for travel rec—" Admiral Kethver nodded slowly, still looking somewhat dazed. She wanted to know if we had any suggestions for interesting planets with challenging environments. She said Earth was getting a bit boring for her, and she was looking for new adventures. "And what did you tell her?" asked the galactic speaker. "I mentioned the lava worlds and the Keth system," Kethver replied. "I thought surely that would frighten her. Those planets have surface temperatures of over 800 degrees, with constant volcanic eruptions and toxic gas clouds." "What?" was her response. Kethver swallowed hard. She said they sounded fun for hiking. She asked if the lava flows were predictable, because she wanted to plan safe routes for walking tours. A collective gasp went through the chamber. The lava worlds were considered so dangerous that even their military ships would not go near them. The idea of walking on their surface was unthinkable. She also asked about the ice planets in the outer rim, Kethver continued. "When I told her they had temperatures of -200 degrees and storms that could freeze metal instantly, she got excited. She said it sounded like a more challenging version of Antarctica." Councillor Zara stood up from her seat. "Admiral, are you telling us that this human sees our most dangerous worlds as vacation spots?" "That appears to be correct," Kethver confirmed. She took notes about everything I told her. She was especially interested in the radiation storms on Kepler-7 and the crushing gravity of the dense worlds. She said her friend back on Earth would love to try rock climbing in 5 times normal gravity. Dr. Yeff, who had been studying the medical data from Han Sol's visit, spoke up from her corner. "The scans we took confirm everything the Admiral is saying. This human's body is designed to survive in conditions that would kill us. But more than that, her brain chemistry shows that she actually enjoys dangerous situations. What we call terror, she calls excitement." The speaker looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of the galactic representatives. "What about their military capabilities? Their weapons?" "That is the strangest part," Admiral Kethver replied. She said they do not have many weapons. Designed for space warfare, most of their military technology is built for fighting on their own planet. She seemed confused about why we would want to fight in space when there are so many interesting worlds to explore instead. "So they are not planning to conquer us?" asked Councillor Veth hopefully. "No, but that might be worse," Kethver said grimly. She asked if there were any uninhabited worlds that other species had given up on because they were too dangerous. She said humans love to settle in places where nobody else wants to live. The implications of this statement sank in slowly. There were thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy that had been abandoned because they were too hostile for life. Planets with deadly storms, toxic atmospheres, extreme temperatures, and dangerous radiation. The galactic community had written these worlds off as useless. "She is returning to Earth now," Kethver continued. "She said she wanted to share everything she learned with her people. She took pictures of our ships, recorded our conversations, and made maps of the star systems we discussed." "Maps?" the speaker asked weakly. She was very interested in the locations of all the worlds we consider uninhabitable. She said they sounded like perfect places for human colonies. Dr. Yeff pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. "If we mark all the worlds that are too dangerous for our species to inhabit, but which humans might find suitable... The display changed, showing thousands of red dots scattered throughout the galaxy. They could spread everywhere. The reality of the situation began to dawn on everyone in the chamber. They had prepared for war against a species of monsters. Instead, they had encountered a species of explorers who saw the galaxy's most dangerous places as exciting new homes. Motion To establish immediate diplomatic relations with Earth, announced the galactic speaker, his voice shaking slightly. We need to know where they plan to settle so we can adjust our trade routes accordingly. Seconded, came voices from around the chamber. I also motioned to create a galactic database tracking human expansion, added Counselor Zara. We need to warn other species when humans move into systems near their territories. Why, asked a delegate from the outer colonies. Because, Zara explained, if humans start living on the death worlds in those systems, they might decide to visit the normal worlds too, and if they visit, they might want to make friends. And if they want to make friends, she did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. A species that could survive anything would be impossible to refuse or avoid. If humans wanted to be friendly, the rest of the galaxy would have no choice but to be friendly back. As Han Solo's shuttle jumped to hyperspace, carrying her stories and maps back to Earth, the galaxy began to prepare for the most peaceful invasion in its history.